Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts, but here I am. I, 36M, have been married to Elise, 34F, for 11 years. On paper, our life looked close to perfect. 2 amazing kids, a son who's 9 and a daughter who's 7. A bright, comfortable home in a safe neighborhood. Family dinners with warm food, laughter, even candles on the weekends when Elise insisted on setting the mood. To friends and neighbors, we were the couple people pointed to and said, they've got it figured out. But if you peeled back the curtain, things weren't so picture perfect. The first cracks were subtle. Elise suddenly had work projects that stretched late into the night, even though her office is a marketing firm where everyone clocks out by 6. She started taking calls in hushed tones, stepping out onto the porch or into the bedroom and closing the door behind her. I'd ask who it was, and she'd snap, "Why are you always in my business? It's work." Except her tone wasn't the tired irritation of a stressed employee, it was defensive, like I'd caught her doing something wrong. Then came the phone smiles. I know my wife's expressions, I can read them as easily as a book. And the way she started grinning at her screen wasn't a "just saw a funny meme" kind of smile. It was the kind you give when someone makes your heart skip. That's when the knot in my stomach started forming. And the scent. God, the scent. One night she came home late, claiming she'd been at the office finishing a presentation. She tossed her scarf on the couch, and when I picked it up, there it was, a faint cologne. Not mine, not anything I recognized. Male. That detail burned into me like acid. The kids picked up on things, too, even though I tried to shield them. My son asked me casually one night, "Why does mom leave so much now?" My daughter, quieter, whispered when Elise wasn't around, "She's always mad at you. Did you do something bad?" That one crushed me. Because Elise wasn't just absent, she'd turned mean. Snapping at me over small things, rolling her eyes, treating me like I was more of an annoyance than a partner. To everyone else, we still looked like the perfect family. But I could feel it, the ground shifting under my feet. My trust wasn't just fading, it was eroding slowly, like sand slipping away with every tide. Something was wrong. Something was really wrong. And I knew I was going to have to face it. I kept telling myself maybe I was paranoid, maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. But the problem with lies is that they always leak, no matter how carefully someone tries to seal them. It started with her late-night projects. One Friday, Elise claimed she had to stay at the office until midnight. Except I knew her company had a strict policy, doors locked at 8 p.m., no exceptions. I didn't call her out right away. Instead, I drove past her office around 9:30. Pitch dark. Not a single car in the lot. Her car wasn't there either. That's when the pit in my stomach turned into something sharp. Another time, she left her laptop open while she showered. Elise is normally obsessive about closing everything, but that night she was careless. I wasn't snooping, I swear, I just glanced and saw an email notification pop up. No name, just an initial and a heart emoji. She'd set her email to private preview mode, but that one slip was enough. The real breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday night. She told me she was meeting a coworker for coffee to discuss a campaign launch. I tried to play dumb, kissed her goodbye, and waited until she drove off. 15 minutes later, I followed. She didn't go anywhere near the coffee shop she mentioned. Instead, she parked behind this quiet bar on the edge of town, the kind of place no one from our circle ever goes. I sat there in my car, rain streaking the windshield, and watched her get out. She looked different. Not the tired wife and mother from home, but younger somehow, hair down, makeup brighter, that silk blouse I hadn't seen her wear in years. Then he showed up. Tall, broad shoulders, the kind of guy who walks like the world owes him something. He leaned in like he owned her space, and she let him. The hug lasted too long. And then came the kiss. Not a polite peck. A slow, deliberate kiss, the kind that says, "This is ours, and no one else's." My chest went hollow. It was like watching my life split in two from the inside of my car. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, but I couldn't move. Couldn't storm out. Couldn't scream. I just sat there, rain hammering down, watching my wife live a double life right in front of me. When she finally went inside with him, I stayed put. I don't even know how long. Time blurred. All I could think was, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. She really was doing this to me. To us. To our kids. That night, something in me broke. I didn't confront her that night. I drove home alone, sat in the dark kitchen, and just stared at the clock until I heard her car pull into the driveway around midnight. She came in, cheeks flushed, hair slightly messy, carrying a paper bag like she'd actually been at some cafe. "Elise," I said, my voice lower than I expected, "how was work?" She froze for half a second, barely noticeable, but I caught it. Then she plastered on that fake, irritated smile. "Exhausting. You wouldn't believe the nonsense I have to deal with. I'm starving, though, good thing I grabbed something on the way back." She rattled the bag like a prop in a play. I wanted to throw the truth in her face right then. "I saw you. I know everything." But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I asked, "Which coworker did you meet?" She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "Oh my God, Daniel. Are we seriously doing this? Do you need a GPS log every time I leave the house?" "It was Jenna, okay. We went over the campaign numbers, she needed help." End of story. Here's the thing, Jenna is 6 months pregnant and on maternity leave. Elise knew that I knew. But she said it anyway, bold as hell, daring me to call her bluff. So I did. Funny. Last I checked, Jenna's at home with a newborn. Her face tightened, then she snapped, "You're unbelievable. Snooping around, keeping tabs on me like some obsessed freak. No wonder I go out, who'd want to sit here and be interrogated like a criminal every night?" The gaslighting hit me like a slap. Somehow I was the problem. I was controlling. I was the reason she needed space. She stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door so hard the kids woke up. My daughter crept out of her room, asking, "Daddy, is Mommy mad at you again?" That broke me in a different way. This wasn't just between Elise and me anymore. The kids were breathing in every ounce of tension, every scream, every slammed door. The next morning, Elise acted like nothing had happened. She was cheerful, even humming while packing the kids' lunches. When I tried to bring up our fight, she cut me off. "I don't want to rehash your paranoia, Daniel. Either you trust me, or you don't. Simple as that." But I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. And no amount of lies or bitchy attitude could scrub it from my mind. She thought she could gaslight me into silence. But I was done playing the clueless husband. After that blow-up in the kitchen, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just suspicious anymore, I knew. And once you know, you can't go back to pretending. So I stopped asking Elise questions. I stopped giving her opportunities to twist the truth and spit it back in my face. Instead, I went quiet. I became the shadow in my own house, watching, listening, waiting. She thought my silence meant she'd won the argument. In reality, it meant I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. Her behavior got bolder, almost like she enjoyed pushing the boundaries. Nights away from home stretched later. She started forgetting to wear her wedding ring, brushing it off with bitchy comments like, "What, you need me branded so everyone knows I belong to you?" The final straw came one Saturday. She told me she was driving the kids to her mother's for the afternoon. Something in her tone felt off, too rehearsed. After she left, I called her mom just to check. Guess what? Elise hadn't been there in weeks. My stomach dropped. The kids weren't with her. Panic set in. I called my son's friend's parents, and sure enough, both kids were at a sleepover. Elise had used them as an excuse to carve out a whole day for herself. So I followed. Her location popped up on the car's GPS history. She always forgot I had access. A hotel. Not just any hotel, the kind with a pay-by-the-hour reputation. My hands shook on the steering wheel the whole drive there. And when I pulled up, her car was right out front, parked like she owned the place. I sat there for over an hour, every minute feeling like someone was pouring acid into my veins. Finally, I saw them. Elise and the same broad-shouldered guy from before, walking out together. Her hair was a mess, her blouse half-buttoned, and she was laughing. Laughing like a woman without a husband, without kids, without a damn care in the world. When she spotted her car, she didn't notice mine parked across the lot. She just kissed him goodbye, full on, no hesitation, and got behind the wheel. That was the breaking point. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't overreacting. My wife was cheating on me, and she was sloppy enough to let me catch her twice. I drove home before she did. Sat at the table, hands shaking, adrenaline pumping. By the time she walked through the door with that smug little smirk, I was ready. That night when Elise came home from her day with the kids, she walked in humming, tossing her purse on the counter like nothing had happened. She even kissed me on the cheek. I had to force myself not to recoil. Her lips still tasted like betrayal. Kids had fun? I asked. My voice was flat, steady. Oh, they were great, she lied without missing a beat, unzipping her jacket. They always love seeing Mom. Except she forgot, they weren't with her. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought a tooth might crack. She was bold. Too bold. And that's when I realized, confronting her without proof was useless. She thrived on twisting words, on flipping things back on me until I looked like the crazy one. If I wanted to bring her down, I needed undeniable evidence. So I became a detective in my own marriage. I started small, checking receipts in her purse, credit card charges online. Hotels, bars, random business expenses that made no sense. I screenshotted everything. I pulled up the car's GPS logs daily, tracking where she'd been. More hotels. More bars. Never anywhere near her supposed co-workers. The final step was her phone. She guarded it like Fort Knox, always locked, always face down. But one night, she got sloppy. She fell asleep on the couch, phone in hand. I waited until her breathing slowed, then gently pressed her finger against the screen. It unlocked. What I found made my stomach turn. Messages. Dozens of them. Pet names. Late-night sexts. Plans for next time. Pictures, things I won't even describe here because I can't get them out of my head. The worst was one message she sent just hours before telling me she was busy with reports. It read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. You make me feel alive again. He's so boring, I just want to scream at him until he leaves. He's so boring." That's how my wife described me, the man who worked 2 jobs when she was in grad school, the father of her children, the guy who thought he'd built a family with her. I sat there shaking, phone in hand, while she snored 10 feet away. Part of me wanted to wake her up and shove the evidence in her face right then. But no. Not yet. I needed the right moment, the right place, where her lies wouldn't stand a chance. So I planned a trap. The next day, I told her I was taking the kids to my sister's for the weekend. She smirked, probably thought she had the house to herself. What she didn't know was that I set up a recording device in the living room and a GPS tracker on her car. And sure enough, she fell right into it. She brought him over. Into our home. Onto the couch where my daughter reads her bedtime stories. Onto the floor where my son plays with Legos. I watched the footage later, my hands trembling, rage and heartbreak mixing until I could barely breathe. That was it. I had all the proof I needed. The affair wasn't just a suspicion, it was a fact. And now, she couldn't gaslight her way out of it. I didn't sleep the night I watched that footage. Every second replayed in my head, Elise laughing, kissing, touching him in our house like it was theirs. By morning, I wasn't just angry, I was cold. Detached. Like something in me had shut off to survive. I waited until Sunday evening. The kids were still at my sister's, safe. Elise came home in a good mood, hair done up, wearing a dress she hadn't worn for me in years. She twirled once in the kitchen and asked, "So? Do you like it?" I stared at her. "Yeah. I saw it yesterday. On the camera." Her smile dropped instantly. She froze, eyes flickering for a second before she snapped, "What camera?" I pulled my phone out and hit play. The video lit up the screen, her and that guy tangled on our couch. Her face, clear as day. His hands all over her. The blood drained from her face, then rushed back in anger. "You had no right to spy on me," she screamed, slamming her hand on the counter. "This is a violation. You're disgusting." I laughed. Actually laughed. A violation? "Elise, you're screwing another man in the house where your kids live. That's disgusting." She stormed closer, jabbing her finger at me like I was the one on trial. "You've been paranoid for months, Daniel. Snooping, spying, treating me like a prisoner." Of course I looked elsewhere. "You drove me to it." Her ability to twist reality was insane. I showed her hard proof of betrayal, and she was still trying to make it my fault. "Say it," I said, voice shaking. "Say you're cheating on me. Out loud. Right now." She sneered, eyes blazing. "Fine. Yes. I'm with someone else. Because he makes me feel alive, and you? You're just, dead weight. Always sulking, always suspicious. No wonder I don't want you touching me." The words cut like glass. But hearing them out loud also freed me. The secret was no longer a secret. I turned off the video, slipped the phone back into my pocket, and said calmly, "We're done. You don't get to poison this house anymore." Her face twisted. She didn't expect that. She expected begging, maybe threats, maybe tears. Not calm resolve. She followed me down the hall, shouting, "You'll regret this, Daniel. You'll regret throwing me away." But the truth? She'd thrown me away a long time ago. After the showdown, the house went cold. Elise stormed out that night, slamming the door so hard a picture frame rattled off the wall. She didn't come back until the next morning, strutting in with her sunglasses on, tossing her bag down like she'd just finished a spa weekend instead of detonating our marriage. "Are you done with your little tantrum?" she asked, her voice dripping with venom. I didn't answer. I was beyond arguing. Instead, I told her flat out, "The kids know something's wrong. I won't let you drag them into your mess. We're telling them we're separating." That's when she snapped. "You're not taking my kids away from me," she shrieked. "I don't care what kind of fake evidence you think you have, if you try to ruin me, I'll ruin you first." Her bitchy defiance would have scared me months ago. Now, it just confirmed what I already knew, she wasn't going to own her mistakes. She'd rather torch the earth around her than admit fault. The fallout didn't stop there. She started picking fights in front of the kids, deliberately needling me, saying things like, "Maybe if Daddy wasn't so boring, Mommy wouldn't have to find fun elsewhere." My son's face went pale hearing that. My daughter cried and begged us to stop. I finally took them aside one night and told them gently, "Mom and Dad won't be living together much longer, but it's not your fault." My son just nodded, quiet. My daughter asked, "Is it because mommy's always mad at you?" That one gutted me. Meanwhile, Elise doubled down. She'd disappear for hours, come back reeking of his cologne, daring me to say something. When I ignored her, she escalated, posting selfies on social media, captions like, "Finally feeling alive again red heart," with no mention of me at all. Friends started calling, asking what was going on. The mask was slipping, and she didn't care who saw anymore. The fallout wasn't just inside the house, it was spreading, reaching our families, our friends, our kids' lives. And I realized something brutal: there was no saving this. Elise wasn't interested in repairing anything. She was only interested in destruction. So I started making calls. A lawyer. A financial advisor. My sister, who offered to let me and the kids stay with her until I figured things out. Elise thought she could keep playing games, but I was done playing. The fallout was ugly, but it was also clarifying. There was only one path forward now, away from her. If I thought Elise was nasty in our marriage, she became downright vicious once lawyers got involved. The moment she got served with divorce papers, she transformed from a lying, cheating wife into a full-blown actress playing the role of perfect mother under attack. Her first move: telling anyone who would listen that I was controlling, paranoid, and emotionally abusive. Suddenly, she was the victim. She cried to her parents, played the sympathy card with our mutual friends, and even tried to guilt-trip the kids by whispering, "Daddy doesn't want us to be a family anymore." I nearly lost it when I heard that from my daughter. When the custody talk started, Elise fought dirty. She tried to paint me as an absent father, conveniently forgetting all the nights I stayed up with sick kids while she worked late. Her lawyer threw every trick in the book at me, claiming I spied on her, true, but justified, that I was unstable, that I couldn't provide the same emotional support she could. Meanwhile, I had evidence. Lots of it. GPS logs, receipts, messages, recordings. My lawyer told me flat out, she's going to bury herself if she keeps this up. And she did. The more she lied, the more contradictions piled up. In mediation, when pressed about the hotel receipts, Elise snapped, "Maybe I just needed a break. God forbid I wanted some space away from Mr. Perfect over here." Her voice cracked. Everyone in the room went silent. That was the moment the mask slipped. But it wasn't just court battles, it was the kids. Elise used them as pawns. She'd promised them special outings, then bail last minute to see her boyfriend. She told my son, "You'd have more fun living with me full-time." She told my daughter, "Daddy's trying to take you away from me." The damage was showing. My son grew quieter, retreating into video games. My daughter clung to me at night, whispering, "Don't let mommy be mean to you anymore." The custody fight drained me, but it also gave me clarity. Elise wasn't just a bad wife, she was toxic as a mother, too. And I realized that fighting for my kids wasn't just about custody, it was about protecting them from the wreckage of her choices. The thing about lies is that they can only hold if everyone plays along. And Elise? She was juggling too many. At first, she convinced some friends and even her parents that I was the paranoid, controlling husband who drove her away. But slowly, cracks appeared. People started seeing the patterns for themselves. She'd post glamorous selfies on nights she claimed she was working late. She'd gush about being with the kids, even though half the time she was nowhere near them. One of her closest friends, ironically, the one she thought would cover for her, called me privately and said, "Daniel, I'm sorry, but she's making a fool of herself. Everyone knows." And she was. Her affair stopped being a secret. The guy she'd been seeing wasn't exactly discreet either. He posted photos of them at restaurants, at bars, even one of her in his car. Elise tried to spin it, telling people they were just co-workers or old friends, but the images didn't lie. Neither did the timestamps that overlapped with the nights she swore she was working or visiting her mom. The collapse hit hardest when it reached her parents. They'd backed her at first, glaring at me like I'd broken their daughter's heart. But then her mom called me in tears, saying, "She lied to us too. She said you were abusing her, and now I see it wasn't true." Even her own family started distancing themselves. Elise didn't take it well. She lashed out at me more than ever, screaming during custody exchanges, slamming doors, threatening, "You'll never make me look bad. I'll destroy you first." But the more she shouted, the more it looked like desperation. And then came the boyfriend's ex out of nowhere. She messaged me. A long, brutal email with screenshots, dates, receipts, the whole history of their affair. Turns out Elise wasn't even his only side project. He'd been cheating on her, too. The same man she threw her family away for had been laughing behind her back. When I read it, I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just hollow. Elise had detonated our lives, all for a guy who didn't even care about her. By the time the custody hearing wrapped up, Elisa's lies had collapsed under their own weight. The judge saw through her games. She got visitation rights, but I got primary custody. Watching her face when the ruling was read was the first time I'd seen her truly speechless. The Queen of Lies had run out of words. When the custody ruling came down, it felt like I could breathe for the first time in months. Not because I'd won, but because my kids finally had stability. They weren't pawns anymore. They had a safe place, a routine, a parent who actually showed up. The first night they stayed with me full-time, my daughter curled up next to me on the couch and whispered, "It feels calmer now." My son didn't say much, he never does, but he hugged me tighter than he had in months. That said more than words ever could. Meanwhile, Elise spiraled. Without control over the narrative, she flailed. She'd post cryptic quotes online, stuff like, "A real woman deserves passion, not prison," or, "Someday they'll regret choosing sides." Her friends stopped liking or commenting. Her family barely spoke to her. Even the boyfriend bailed. I heard through the grapevine he moved on to someone else, leaving her to nurse the ruins alone. But me? I started to move forward. I threw myself into being present for the kids. We cooked together, we went on bike rides, we rebuilt a treehouse in the backyard that had been half falling apart. The laughter came back, slow at first, but real. Every night I tucked them in, I promised myself they'd never again have to fall asleep to the sound of slammed doors and accusations. It wasn't all easy. Some nights I lay awake replaying her words, "You're boring. Dead weight. Those scars don't fade overnight." But then I'd hear my kids breathing softly down the hall, safe, and I'd remind myself, boring isn't bad. Boring means dependable. Boring means safe. And safe was exactly what they needed. For the first time in years, I felt like my life was mine again. No secrets buzzing in the background, no walking on eggshells around a woman who treated me like I was disposable. Just me, my kids, and a future I could actually shape. Elise still lurked on the edges, trying to stir drama, but she'd lost her grip. Her lies had collapsed, her boyfriend was gone, and the only thing she had left was bitterness. I didn't hate her, I pitied her. Because while she'd burned everything down chasing a thrill, I was left standing in the ashes, holding the only thing that really mattered, my kids. Looking back now, it almost feels like I was living in two different marriages, the one I thought I had, and the one Elise was really living behind my back. For years, I believed in us. I thought the fights were just stress, the distance just a phase. I gave her the benefit of the doubt until the evidence was screaming in my face. When it all came crashing down, I thought I'd never recover. The betrayal was too sharp, too humiliating. The woman I trusted more than anyone lied to my face daily, and worse, she used our kids as props to cover her tracks. That part will never stop stinging. But here's what I learned, you can survive it. You can crawl out of the wreckage and build something better, even if it's just you and your kids at first. Love doesn't mean ignoring red flags. Trust doesn't mean being blind. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Elise thought she broke me. She didn't. She broke the illusion. And in the ruins, I found clarity. If you're reading this and you're in the same place I was, confused, gaslit, doubting yourself, listen to your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Gather proof, protect your sanity, and remember, you're not crazy for noticing the cracks. You're not weak for walking away. I didn't choose this path, but I'm walking it now with my kids beside me, and for the first time in years, there's peace in my home. That's worth more than any fake smile or hollow marriage ever could be. And if Elise ever reads this, I hope someday you realize what you threw away. Not for my sake, but for the kids. Because matter how many lies you told, they saw the truth, and they chose me.